Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. I had to look at the day of the week then, that's bad. Um, I hope you're having a great week. And for those of you who are able to join live today, say hello. Feel free to post any questions in the comments as we go along or at the end of the video, and I'll check back on them. As I said, I hope you're having a great week. Here in the UK, we're in autumn winter season, so it's a bit more downtime. Uh, we've got a few autumn winter events, but mostly it's prepping for next year, onboarding new clients, and doing consultation calls, which is the topic of today's live. So I'm just going to grab my notes. Done a little prep, as I always do for these calls. So with a very personal service-based job like we do as wedding stylists, where you're working collaboratively directly with customers, providing a service of which they are going to have very high expectations because it's their wedding day, one of the most important days of their life. They are going to want to get to know you before they commit to spending X amount of money with you, particularly as it's not just 50 quid. You know, hopefully if you're charging a reasonable amount for your wedding styling services, then it's thousands of pounds or dollars. So offering consultation calls is a big part of getting those clients to get to know you a bit better, get to trust you, find out more about the way you work, more about how you can support them and how you can work together. And so that's why it's key for a service-based service-based provision like what we supply as wedding stylists. Sorry, I had COVID last week and my brain is still not back in the game yet. So this is why we offer consultation calls, otherwise known as discovery calls or that kind of thing. It's about letting the client get to know you and go, yep, they're the person for me. And so with consultation calls, you can expect that they might be having consultation calls with more than one stylist, or they may love your work but they just don't know about you as a person and how you work, and they want to know a bit more about that. They want to know a bit more about the service. So that's why we do consultation calls. I don't really know any planners or stylists who don't do this unless they kind of sell packages and they're able to do that successfully without consultation calls. I will say when it comes to styling, sometimes because it can be very driven by what they see on your Instagram and your website, and if they just love that anyway, sometimes a consultation call is more just, yeah, let's tick that check box. Sorry, they're a real person, I've kind of met them, it's not, you know, it's not just me talking to someone on the internet and paying them however many thousand for their service, compared to planning, where sometimes that consultation call can be a bit more pivotal in terms of they're investing significantly more money and they want to really get to the nitty-gritty of the service you're providing. But sometimes that's the case with styling as well. I'm kind of going to track back initially when talking about consultation calls, because the whole preparation for a consultation call with a prospective client is, it starts at your kind of like sales and marketing process and how you plan for people to inquire with you, because this is kind of, there's a workflow, right? So you want to attract your ideal client, you want that client to then either inquire with you via your website or DMs or however you like to have inquiries, or you want them to like book in a call in your diary immediately. And so you want to think about your inquiry process and what you can find out about the client even before you get to the stage to confirming a consultation call with them. And I tell you why this is important. At the very beginning of your business, you're like, yay, someone wants to have a consultation call with me. Great. And you're just super excited. Someone wants to book a call. The more calls you do, the more you realize that you only want calls with people who are your ideal client, or who are really serious about booking your services. You don't want to waste 20 minutes, half an hour of your time if actually you never want to work with them anyway, and or they can't afford you and they haven't really looked at your pricing. So when you look at your inquiry process, you want to look at how, at the very root of it, how do you encourage your ideal client to find you? How do you encourage them to then think, wow, I want to book a consultation call with her and make an inquiry, or him, her, I'm saying her because it's me. And sorry, lost my train of thought. And then as you prep for the consultation call, what you are looking to find out about the client ahead of the call. So as important it is to attract your dream clients, and that boils down to your marketing, your branding, how you've positioned yourself, your pricing, everything, which, you know, is a massive business part of the project anyway. When you're looking to book in consultation calls, you also want to put some people off. That sounds like a weird concept in business, because surely you just want to sell as many services as you can and make as much money. But if you've done any business and marketing work, you will know that you only want to attract the right clients. And over the years, I've refined my inquiry process so that at different points I can perhaps over email, or even before they've inquired with me, put off anyone who can't afford me, does not align with my style and brand values and the way I work. And part of the way you can do this is by having a downloadable brochure that's got your prices and your process in, if you don't have that information on your website. Capturing inquiries and leads via a free download that really talks to your ideal client and the kind of people you want to work with. So hopefully will only attract the kind of people you want to work with. And also by putting in things like questionnaires to kind of capture information. So for example, I have an initial inquiry form. Originally, back in the day when I first started, it didn't have budget on it, but my pre-consultation call questionnaire, which was kind of in between them getting my brochure, expressing interest, they'd seen my prices. But as you may know, or you may get to know with wedding couples, is they don't know how much they need to spend on their wedding a lot of the time. It's the first time they're doing it, and sometimes they can look at a brochure or price and think, yeah, that sounds reasonable, but they don't really know how much the venue's going to cost, how much all the catering and the alcohol's going to cost, and actually maybe they can't afford you, but they can't necessarily make that decision if they don't know all the other prices. So capturing at some point before the consultation their expected budget is a great thing, because I have definitely put off consultation calls politely after finding out that their budget is XYZ. I also put in my brochure or in my response to an inquiry, you know, if it's for design and styling, it's like, this is the fee for the service, this is what it includes, and this is the projected amount, minimum amount we would want to budget for flowers, stationery, decor, everything, because my service is very much based on, I do the design and styling, but they also need to have budget for candles, linens, tableware, flowers, stationery, all of those things that are going to bring that vision to life. You don't want to get a styling job and find out they've got £500 to spend and they're spending the other £2,000 of their budget on you, and then you've got £500 for nothing. You can't style thin air with no budget. So you do want to ask questions that capture that. The other key one that I always have in my inquiry form before starting the consultation is, can you share a link to your Pinterest board or some inspiration images? This is key because as much as someone might go on your Instagram or your website and think, I love their work, there are instances where I get sent design boards and I'm like, why have they contacted me? Like, it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it's like, this is not the kind of thing I want to style. I'm also finding this year, particularly this year, is every mood board link I get sent or Pinterest board link has gypsophylla in it, or baby's breath, if you're in the US or any other countries where they call it baby's breath. It's like, there are only so many weddings I can do with baby's breath in. So knowing that, and I know it's trending and I know it's a vision that everyone's buying into, and I'm not saying it's a horrible vision, but I don't want to do 10 weddings a year that have a very specific all white gypsophilia look. As beautiful as it is, I want variety in the designs I create for my clients. So again, it's a good one to know before the consultation call, a talking point over email before the call, like, I love your vision, but just want to get a bit more information. How key is using, gypsophilia? Are you open to different ways of working with it, other ideas, that kind of thing? So you can establish if you actually want to work with this kind of aesthetic and this kind of design. And in some cases you get sent a Pinterest board and you're like, what the hell is that? That's not me. I don't want to do that. And so having that information ahead of the call is great to know. It's also good to look at your inquiry process if you have any kind of client management software. If you're using a system like Dubsado, or your inquiries come through another platform that's connected to your website, and they fire off automated emails, diary, call consultation, calendar links and things like that. You want to think about that. I'm not saying you need that at the beginning, but at the beginning you're not expecting to get loads of inquiries. Further along, where you might have lots of inquiries, you may want to have an automated system in place where you immediately acknowledge an inquiry so that they know that their inquiry via your contact form or email or whatever DMs has landed, and that you will get back to them when you're at your desk. Also think about response times. It's interesting, I saw a florist who was then become a bride change her response time for new inquiries, just because she said as a bride on a Saturday night she would shoot off an inquiry and then be really excited to hear back from them, and then wouldn't hear back maybe till Monday or Tuesday. And so she actually made the decision that for her, she wanted to get back to people straight away, even if it was over the weekend, and just keep that excitement, keep that momentum. I'm not saying you have to do that, but it's something to consider if you want to kind of get talking to those people if they're sending multiple inquiries and you want to be the first one to respond and get them excited. So that is something to think about as well. And I actually have a note. I have an automated service for my business branding website that works really well. That business with my husband, but for my wedding business I prefer to curate more personal responses. But to streamline the process, I have like a list of canned emails in my notes. So I have one for inquiry, and it goes back with various links to my questionnaire and my brochure and everything like that. So I can literally copy and paste, and then I can personalize it. Like, oh, lovely to hear you're getting married at X place. I love that venue, or I worked there last year and it's such a beautiful space, because then you can personalize it and add kind of your own spin on emails, but you've got the bulk of emails. Or if you get an inquiry you're not interested in or you're already booked for, have these responses already written out so you can copy and paste and tweak and then shoot them off. If you're not doing an automated system, that really helps. So moving on to prepping for the call itself, and this also goes back to process. You are a professional business, whether you're in the early stages or not. Personally, I think saying, I'll WhatsApp call you around 3 p.m. doesn't feel as professional as saying, here's the link to my online meeting room, or sending a Google Google Meet invite or a Zoom invite or whatever. I've got Whereby, which is a bit like Zoom. I pay for the business version because at this stage of my business, that's an overhead I'm happy to pay for, and I can personalize it. I can make the background, branded. I can have my logo in there. It's not just Martha Zoom. It's, anemone style meeting room, things like that. So think about what platform you're going to use, and with that in mind, think about Signal. You don't want to arrange a consultation call and be like, sorry, I can't hear you, I'm losing you, can't get the connection. So think about that as well. That might be a reason why you do a phone call. Personally, before COVID, I used to do a lot of my consultations in person. To be honest, London's a big city, and going out into town to meet someone for a glass of wine or a coffee, factoring in journey times, what have you, it is so much better in today's world where video call is standard. But I do think video call or face to face is easier to get across more of your personality, more of your brand values, more of the way you work. I do occasionally, if someone says they just want to do a phone call, I do occasionally do that. Maybe they're getting up early because they're an overseas client and they don't want to do a video meeting because, they've not got a face and makeup on yet, or what have you. They're sitting in bed in their pajamas. And I have done video calls with people in their pajamas before as well. But I always try and make sure I am presentable. So think about the platforms, internet access, how you're going to make it feel like a professional, seamless process. If you have a system where it's a calendar link, like an app like Calendarly, and they can just pick a slot in your diary, it automatically sends them the link to the call, all of that, then that's a really seamless professional process as well. I prefer not to do that because I don't want people booking time in my diary if I've forgotten to block things out. So I have more of a personal response. But you do whatever way works for you. But again, I've got those canned email responses, so I literally just have to change the dates and times I'm available. So in terms of prepping for the consultation call itself, you've got your process, you've obtained information, you've got your platform, everything's ready to go. Ahead of the call, if you don't have this already, then you want to think about format of the call and probably a questionnaire, because the purpose of this call is, one, for you to get to know a bit more about them and them to know a bit more about you, to ask each other questions, but most importantly for you to obtain information that allows you to either quote if it's a bespoke quote, so you'll need certain information for that, or for you to work out if you actually want to work with the client, if you feel like you're in a position to only pick the people you really want to work with. So that's why you need leading questions, right? So you need to have questions that will help you obtain that information. Now, when I first started out, I got a template questionnaire and I have tweaked that over time, and it's so ingrained in me I don't literally have a questionnaire anymore. I just know the questions to ask. At the beginning of every call I say, thank you for your time. I'm really looking forward to hearing all about your ideas today and your plans. This is the way the call will work. And I say, I'd love to hear more about you first. Then we'll follow up with some questions, and you can ask me questions, and then I'll talk you through the service and how we might work together, and I'll finish up with next steps. That's how I broach it at the start of every call. I try and diffuse any tension by, being open and friendly, and trying to make them feel like there is no right or wrong statement or question. Once they've told me, and I really like them to lead, because ultimately it's their wedding, it's about them, their wedding design is inspired by them. Then I will obviously ask any questions specifically about things like budget, vision for ceremony reception, any other what rooms or areas will need styling. I'll ask them any questions related to the Pinterest board they've shared, or if they haven't shared one, I might ask them to share something on screen or talk me through their vision. I'll ask them to use describing words if they can, to describe any words that would describe the look and feel they want to create. I'll ask them about their favourite colours, or specifically colours they want to use in the wedding. I'll ask them about colours that they absolutely don't want to include, flowers that they really want to include, flowers that they absolutely don't want to include if there are any, that kind of thing, their priorities, and then kind of like logistics of the venue, like how long do we have for setup, what's the access like, do they allow open flame if they're really into candles, that kind of thing. So think about creating a little bit of a checklist. You don't have to literally do it line by line and run through it really formally in the call. You can drop the questions into more natural conversation, but think about the questions that will help you obtain the information you need. And ask them, I always ask them to kick off with a bit of background about themselves, what they love, how they met, how long they've been engaged, that kind of thing. That can be a great way to break the ice, but also get to know a bit more about who they are as people. If only one of them is on the call, it's nice to hear a bit more about the partner. And if you have, like I said, any concerns over anything they've raised, like budget, but you've still gone ahead with the call because they've said there's flex or whatever, then you want to kind of broach those questions in the call as well. So I would say if you're starting out and you're doing your first consultations, or you've done some consultations but you feel like you need a bit more of a process, a bit more structure, then create a template of questions, print it off, have it next to you, or have it on another device or on another tab, and literally just fill out the questions, write notes as you go along, or have a notebook open, that kind of thing, with questions jotted down. But it's great to create a template that you can like print off or just have on another tab, and that you can literally answer as you go through. Let them know you're taking notes, you're not just staring off at another angle, you're looking at your notebook or what have you. So that's a good thing to think about. Then the other key thing about the call is that you are selling your services. And that's probably what will be most nerve-wracking at the beginning, in the early stage of your consultation calls. I remember I used to get butterflies before a call, because ultimately what I'm thinking in my head is, I want them to like me, I want them to book. As time goes on, they just become second nature, and it's not always nerve-wracking, but I understand at the beginning it can be. And it does help to have a bit of a strategy, a bit of a sales strategy on how you think you can get yourself across in the best possible way on this call. So that might be having a little bit of a script that you can refer to. When I said before about having a bit of a format for the call, maybe like start, middle and end, then you can give yourself a bit of structure. But also think about what you think your ideal client will want to gain from the call, and try and deliver that over the call. Some really simple but effective techniques are, number one, listening. Ultimately, they don't want to be told exactly the wedding they need to have. They want to be able to tell you all their exciting ideas, what they love, what they would be delighted to see on the day. And then they want to get your professional opinion on that, and how feasible that is, and how you could bring that to life. So ultimately, you should not be doing all the talking at the beginning, especially. You should be listening, but a great way to make people feel heard is to repeat things back to them. So often I'll say, kind of halfway through, so just so I've got it clear, we want to create an ethereal all-white wedding with clouds of gypsophilia and hydrangea, beautiful candlelight, floating glass kind of textures and props everywhere. We want to include draped silk, and we want to create an overall ambience of like elegance and beauty, or something like that. I mean, I've just plucked that out of thin air, so perhaps it doesn't work. But I might take some of the keywords that they've given me as I've asked them, to describe their wedding, take some of the features that I know are really important, gypsophilia, candlelight, for example, and repeated it back to them so they feel heard. You also, on the flip side, don't want to not talk about yourself. You don't want to undersell yourself. You don't want to be like, say things like, oh, I could possibly do that, let me have a think, if you know, if I could do that thing, or I haven't done it before but I'm sure I can do XYZ. You want to be, even if you haven't done it, I'm not saying you need to lie, but you want to be like, I love that idea, I would love to help you make that happen. I've got a few thoughts on that, which I'll have a think about after the call when I put together the quote. Things like that. You also don't want to be like, I'm quite good at my job and it would be great if you felt like that too and you would want to work with me. Not saying you'd say that specifically, but that might come across in the way you speak or your body language. You want to big yourself up a bit. You know, sometimes, you know, it's a bit cringy, but sometimes if someone said to me on a call, I know what I love, but I don't have a specific vision, I'll be like, don't worry, my wedding stylist superpower is to really get to know you and then design something that feels totally you. And I'm very intuitive and collaborative in that way. So I really find that with my clients, one of the things they say most about me is that I've been able to pick these ideas that they didn't know they have out their brain and create it into something that's absolutely perfectly them. That would be a way to like sell one of my key skills into them and solve one of their problems, which is they don't know quite what they want, but they know what they like and they need help kind of teasing that out of their brain. So that would be a way to kind of say, I'm the right person for that, I'm amazing at that, I can help you. So think about the ways you're going to sell in during the call. And I don't mean like super like elevator pitch salesy, unless that's what your target market want to hear, but I'm not sure they do. I'm talking about just little ways that you can promote yourself. And then think about that in terms of format. Like I say, once I've listened to them and once they've asked some questions and I've answered some questions, I then talk about the service. And so that is more where I have not a script as such, but it sort of feels like a script because I say it again and again and I talk about the key things, the key experiences of working with me, how it's going to work, what I'm particularly good at, what people love when they work with me, what I can bring to the table basically, and why that might be of interest to them. So in the kind of format of my consultation call, when I get to that bit, I usually do a little bit of a, oh, this would be a great time to talk about how we might work together, rather than being like, right, phase 3, we are talking about the service. So kind of naturally go into that and say, would you like to hear a bit more? And, you know, let me talk you through that. Also, I have my finale is kind of questions and then next steps. So I always end a call in either asking them if they would like to see a proposal directly, if I think it's gone well, or letting them know that next steps would be to go away and chat to their partner and then come back to me and let me know if they'd like to see a proposal. Usually a proposal is turned around in X amount of time. They have as much, you know, they have can review the proposal at their leisure, and I'm always here for questions, and we can talk about the details further, that kind of thing. And then I might say, if you'd love to move forward, just let me know and we can, you know, we can do the contract. I take a payment for X amount and then we can get started on your wedding design. I can't wait to get the ball rolling. It's going to be really beautiful. You know, ending on a, you know, if we work together in a week, we're going to be at a really exciting phase, you know, and we're going to be doing X, Y, Z. You know, kind of end the call with the exciting next steps. Again, kind of a great way to kind of sell into them because it already gets them excited about it. Then the final thing is follow up. So different people do leave different time frames, but ultimately, hopefully, if you've got a good process, you've wheedled out people who either can't afford you or are not a good fit ahead of the call. But obviously that doesn't mean 100% of people will go ahead and book you for the call. They may have the call with you and just not feel like there's a connection. They may have the call with you and feel like it's actually not quite the service they were looking for. They may have a call with you, look at the proposal and then go, oh, actually now it's actually written on paper with my name on it. I don't feel comfortable with confirming that spend yet, or I need to finalise my venue first before I can commit to this, what have you. So you are going to need to follow up with them after the call and kind of find out, are you going to work together? Are you going to book? So again, goes back to your process, your canned emails. I have, or your automated system. I have follow-up copy that I just copy and paste into the email, tweak a bit to personalise it. Like, it was great to talk to you about your wedding at XYZ, the beautiful vision, describe it. You know, it was lovely to discuss with you, and it's going to look stunning. I was wondering if you'd had any further thoughts following our call, or or if you're sending a proposal. Again, I have a copy and paste canned email content for it was lovely to chat with you. I'll send the proposal over by XYZ, and then the follow-up email to that is, as promised, here's the proposal. It was so lovely talking through all your ideas, details and points from the proposal, reiterate next steps. I'm so looking forward to hearing from you. Let me know if you have any questions, that kind of thing. So have a follow-up in your process. You don't just want to go, oh, I had the call with them and I never heard from them ever again. Because if any of you have ever planned a wedding for yourself, you will know that you are juggling a job and wedding planning, and the likelihood of you remembering to get back to everyone, or you may be making tentative inquiries quite far in advance, but that doesn't mean that in a month you're not going to confirm that supplier, but you might not get back to them in the interim. So as the stylist, you just don't want to go, well, I never heard from them after that call, so they obviously don't want to book. Part of your job is to check in with them and follow up with them. It is a tricky one. I would say this year, unusually so, I have had some absolute ghosting. People who are like, oh, I'm going to make a decision quickly. It's been great to talk to you and I will let you know next week. And I've sent them 3 follow-up emails and never heard from them ever again. Some people just don't like telling you that they're not going to book you because they just had a better connection with someone else, or they freaked out about their budget or whatever. It is rude and it does annoy me, but it happens occasionally. But you have a better chance of avoiding that feeling that someone just doesn't want to book you and you don't know why, if you have follow-up. You can absolutely say, it would be great to get any feedback. There have been times where someone hasn't booked me and I've asked for feedback and I've been really gutted they didn't book me, and actually I've found out it's simply because, they're just not sure if they need a stylist, or they just want to work out some other things first, or they really love chatting to me but they just had a better connection with someone else. Sometimes it's just better to know than sit there wondering and go, why didn't I book that client? I really felt like we had a connection. I really wanted to work with them. So follow-up is really important. That's it for today. I hope you found that helpful. I know consultations can feel nerve-wracking, but believe me, they can become second nature once you've been doing this for a while, and they're also enjoyable if you get to talk to interesting people and get as excited about their weddings as they are. So good luck with your upcoming consultations, or just marketing for consultations. And let me know if you have any questions. You can write them in the comments, tag me, I'll come back to you if you're watching it on replay, or email me, martha@weddingacademyglobal.com. I'm going to go get some lunch. Have a lovely day.